All right, so despite me being a realtor, a lot of people think that I think everybody should be buying and selling houses, and that's not actually the case. So I do think that homeownership should be a goal for most people, but I don't necessarily think that you should always be buying a house. For example, there's 3 scenarios where I think that it doesn't necessarily make sense for you to buy a house. So the first example is basically if you don't know if you're planning on being in the area for the next 3+ years. Basically, the reason why I say that is because home prices in general, as long as you're buying in a good area, they go up over time, but you can never tell if a home price, whatever you buy the home for today, if you can sell it for that price and more tomorrow, next year, 2 years down the road. But if you're buying a home today, more than likely, if you're there for at least 3 years, you're going to see some home price appreciation to at least make up the difference for whatever your selling costs are going to be. So that's why I think it does make sense to potentially rent if you think that you're only going to be in the area for, say, a year or so. The second scenario would be if your job is just not the most stable, your job position, anything like that. So if you just started a new position, obviously that could pose challenges of even getting pre-approved, possibly. But if you're the low man out on the totem pole, or if you think that there's going to be a job loss recession coming up, then that may be something that you also want to consider and say, hey, until I feel like I'm at a better spot at work, then I don't want to buy a house. And then the third scenario would be, obviously, if you're cash strapped. So the big deterrent for a lot of people to buy a house is going to be the down payment. Most people have to save up to get a down payment. And by the way, it's a myth that you have to have 20% down. There's a lot of programs out there, whether it's an FHA program where you could put 3.5% down, a VA program where you could actually put 0% down. You don't necessarily have to have 20%. But say you do have enough money for the down payment, and technically you have enough in reserves to be qualified for a loan, but if it's going to be such a tight fit for you that if anything happens within the first 6 months, you can't afford it. So say the furnace goes out, or you have a roof leak, or whatever the case may be, if you can't afford to pay for the repair, then that's where you also should probably just be looking to rent, because if you're a renter, then that's the landlord's responsibility. Once you're a homeowner, that becomes your responsibility. So those are the 3 scenarios when I think that it makes more sense to rent versus buy. And then same thing, I don't think that everybody should always be selling their houses either. I do believe in real estate investing as a very feasible strategy for building wealth. And when I say real estate investing, I mean long-term rentals, medium-term rentals, and short-term rentals. And that means that you're not always going to sell. So while that may mean there's less money coming to me in the form of a commission, I think that the better strategy for a lot of people, as long as they can afford it and as long as they have the stomach to be a landlord, would be to try to rent out their current home when they go to step up and buy their next home. So those are just a couple of thoughts for me for the day. If you have any questions, let me know.